Just staying up later, Paul Reiser has just had the last key sip of tea before the cameras came on. Star of My Two Dads, now seen Sunday nights, right?
Sunday nights at 8:30 on NBC.
They moved it around a little bit.
They moved it around. It's sort of like a gypsy show. We feel it keeps the audience on their toes, and if they really want to watch it, they'll make that special effort to find out where the hell it is exactly.
Well, it's been around, right? It's the third or fourth year?
Yeah, we're going to our third season.
We'll talk about that in a little bit, but the first time I saw you, and I'm guessing the first time a lot of people first saw Paul Reiser, whether they put the name to the face or not, was as Modell in Diner.
I stumbled into that accidentally. A friend of mine was dropping off a picture at the casting office, and I was going to Macy's to buy socks, which was around the corner, and he said, I'll go with you to Macy's, let me just drop off this picture. And I was waiting for him outside, and the casting director said, where's your picture? I said, I'm not here for this. And she said, well, do you have a picture? I said, I have one at home, but I'm not up for this. She said, well, come back tomorrow. And I tried to talk my way out of it, and I came back the next day, and I met Barry Levinson, and like 3 days later, I was in Baltimore making a movie, and I had no idea what anything was.
Was it you just standing there that attracted them, or were you doing something?
No, you know what it was? Because if you go for an audition, sometimes you're nervous, or you're trying to put forth something, and I wasn't doing anything. We were just fooling around. I don't know, we were flirting with the secretary, we were just making jokes, we were just being stupid guys. And just my luck, they were looking for young, stupid, funny guys. So it's funny, because everything happened to work out right. I remember at the time, I was in this acting class, and I was really anxious for my next audition. I was really going to show the depth of my acting. I said, because if I don't, I'll just sound like a guy having a cup of coffee. So I did this scene with just Barry Levinson in a room, and I'm doing my best, and he goes, you know what? Just do it more like you're just having a cup of coffee. I said, that's exactly what I was trying not to do. And it turns out that he's doing a movie about guys having coffee and talking. So it just kind of was serendipity.
Did you guys have any sense when you were making this film that it was going to be a sort of a minor classic?
I don't know. I was so new to everything that I had no way of comparing. I was just so, thrilled. It had cameras and everything. It had look at that, they have a wardrobe truck. It's like a professional show. So it felt pretty, pretty neat. But I think when I first saw it, I was blown away that much more to realize that there was something bigger than that going on. It was just a really beautiful movie.
Modell was a mooch.
The mooch.
Famous scene was when he managed to somehow eat Steve Guttenberg's roast beef sandwich.
I sort of talked him out of it.
Sitting there in the diner.
Yeah. It's like, if you're not going to eat it, I'll eat it. What happened, I had like 3 lines in the script, and they said, well, it's going to be augmented, as the show goes on. We're just going to, we'll find out, we'll improvise things.
Where's that roast beef? Don't ask me this anymore, Modell. Yes.
You want to finish that?
Yeah, I'm going to finish it. I paid for it. I'm not gonna give it to you. No.
If you're not going to finish it, I would eat it. But if you're going to eat it, you're going to...
What do you want? Say the words.
No, go ahead. You're going to eat it. You eat it. That's all right.
Say the words. I want the roast beef sandwich. Say the words, and I'll give you a piece.
Would you guys cut this out? I mean, every time.
Well, he doesn't talk. He just...
Well, you know what he means, right?
Yeah, I know what he means, but he beats around the bush. He beats around the bush. If he'd say the words, I'd give him a piece.
If I wanted it, wouldn't I ask you?
Then ask. You know you
let it go.
You know he wants
it. You're annoying.
I'm annoying. I'm trying to eat a meal by myself.
If you want to give him the sandwich, give him the sandwich. If you don't want to give him the sandwich, don't.
I don't want to give him the...
Well, then just eat the sandwich.
Then
shut up.
Well, look at his eyes.
I ask one simple question, you get it. You know what your problem is? You don't chew your food. That's why you get so irritable. It lumps you up like roast beef in your heart. It just stays there. And I was just real uptight and insecure. I never knew where I was supposed to be. I didn't know if I was like... I didn't know what my place was. I didn't know if I was an extra. I didn't know if I was like a principal, because they had one time they said, okay, all the principals over there and extras, you can wait outside. And like an hour later, I go, where's Paul? I go, he's with the extras. I had no idea where I was supposed to be. And I go, because I'm not one of the guys, always like the 5 guys, the 6 guys. And so I just started doing that. One day we were sitting around, I had nothing to do, and they were filming the stuff around the diner table, and I just said, you can eat that? And we started riffing it, and the next day, the director says, well, you know the thing you did with the sandwich? Do that again with the car. Because I truly had no idea. I go, should I go with him? Should I go in his car? Should I go? And they said, use it. That's funny.
Yeah.
I went, it's not funny. I just really didn't know where to go.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Manhattan.
Okay, you had to go to school with a zillion kids in grade school and high school.
Right.
There's always a handful of them that are legitimately trying to eat your sandwich in the cafeteria. You know, I mean, that's the whole... You're going to eat that? Like, you're supposed to take a breath. You're going to eat that? You want the milk? You want the cake?
Actually, I get this from my father. My father is a great guy and a wonderful man, but you don't want to have dinner with him because he will choreograph your food. You know what I mean? He'll tell you how to eat your food. It'll be minding your own business. And you're an adult, you got your life together, and he'll just stare at your food. And I go, what? I go, mix it up with the gravy. It's good. You know? I go, no, I'm all right. He goes, mix it up. You'll enjoy it more. And we'll sample things. Just, you know, just kind of like, and it's not because he's hungry. Just go, well, what did they give you there? You just want to make sure it's like, you know, what did they give you there? What is that, fish? That's good. They make a nice fish here. It's like, just wanted to check.
How about the kids in the cafeteria, though? It's one thing to say, give me half of your peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But the kid who, after you've eaten 9/10 of a bowl of spaghetti, says, are you finished with that? And takes your fork and finishes off the spaghetti.
See, I'm a big believer that certain food should not be shared, you know. I mean, certain desserts, let me taste that cheesecake, you know, and you get it back, and then they have that trail of cheesy thing there, and suddenly you're not interested. You know what?
Good.
Keep the fork, keep the whole pie.
With my compliments.
Sharing shouldn't have happened.
For a guy who hasn't been the star of these movies, I mean, you certainly had roles in some big-time movies. Diner, Aliens, Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah, they don't make a big-budget film without giving me a call. It's just, it's been a lot of these movies, it's worked out well.
Did you know Eddie Murphy beforehand? Was that a connection?
Actually, I was in the movie before Eddie was. I was, originally, Stallone was going to do it.
And you can see Stallone in the Eddie Murphy role, right?
It was going to be a different movie. And I think the way that happened, I think the director, they just wanted to pepper the movie with little roles, and he had seen me in Diner and said, well, you know, maybe he'd be funny here. And so they wrote this little scene, and then Stallone dropped out and Eddie came in, and we knew each other from the comic strip and working clubs together. And so it was real fun and real easy to just jam that. And we just kind of improvised that. And he's great. I mean, Eddie, the wild thing about Eddie is he's so seamless, you know, and you don't see any of the strains of his work. And he's just, I remember one time I went over and I said, you know, maybe you can do a thing, when I come over here, you can walk over that way and do the line. And he barely seems to be listening. And then an hour later, you do the thing, and he took it, and exactly what you said, and he made it even better. And he's just real sharp and real good.
How much of that stuff does he ad-lib? Just looks like a huge portion of it is. Basically, let's do this, and however you do it, it's up to you.
Yeah. I only worked on both cop films for like 4 days each. So, but he's, you know, terrific at improvising, and he just knows what works well for him. And I predict, ultimately, he'll make a lot of money and do well.
Yeah. You want to go out on a limb with something like that?
Well, you know, if he just learns to loosen up, come out of his shell, he should do pretty well.
Your role in Aliens was probably, you know, one of your bigger tests as an actor, because as Carter J. Burke.
Carter Burke, very good. Carter J. Burke.
You had to kind of convince the audience that you were a nice enough guy that Sigourney Weaver would be attracted to you, but ultimately you turn out to be a bad guy. Well, you double-cross the guys.
Well, the thing was, I think the reason they wanted to cast it a little off the norm was they wanted a guy who you'd say, normal guy, nice guy, friendly guy, as opposed to some, you know, guy twirling his mustache and his cape. And it was supposed to be, you know, the mislead. In fact, it was really, you know, a great piece of writing that the end of the first Alien, it was the, you know, the synthetic guy was the bad guy, so they had this very sinister-looking robotic, the second one, who turns out to be the hero, and the normal corporate guy turns out to be the villain, so it's a real 180. But I had this thing going that I really maintained. I never played it as a bad guy, and I said, I'm just doing my job, you know, and so I have a job to do, and it's only as it goes on that I start losing a sense of reality. And I always maintained that Sigourney Ripley liked me, and we had this thing that she would go, no, understand this. I mean, she and I got along great, but she said, no, I don't like Burke. I go, well, you don't necessarily love him, but you get along. She goes, no, I just don't. And I could not, as an actor, as a person, as a character, I could not accept that she didn't like me, and it just made me try that much harder
you felt that if she didn't like your character, she was rejecting you.
Yeah, I just said, well, you must like me a little bit. I mean, you know, you're working with me. She goes, no, I'm not working with you. I'm going back for another reason. I go, yeah, well, you have your reason, I have my reason, which was great, you know.
You sent them out there, and you didn't even warn them. Why didn't you warn them, Burke?
Okay, look. What if that ship didn't even exist? Did you ever think about that? I didn't know. So now if I went and made a major security situation out of it, everybody steps in, administration steps in, and there's no exclusive rights for anybody. Nobody wins. So I made a decision, and it was wrong. It was a bad call, Ripley. It was a bad call.
Bad call?
Right.
These people are dead, Burke! Don't you have any idea what you've done here? Well, I'm gonna make sure that they nail you right to the wall for this. You're not gonna sleaze your way out of this one. Right to the wall.
Ripley, I expected more from you. I thought you'd be smarter than this.
Happy to disappoint you.
Stay tuned. Later, we'll be right back.
People don't like to be responsible. They say, so I was talking to this guy. He's telling me his story, and he says, hey, now, correct me if I'm wrong. And I'm thinking, what is it, my responsibility now? I have to correct. I want to go, why don't you come back when you know what the hell you're talking about? Here's another point about the they. The guy, if you go, this is a perfect example where you trust people that you don't know anything about. You go to a movie, Saturday night, crowded, line around the block. You never go to the box office. You never check out if you're in the right place. You go to the last guy in line, a total stranger, and you go, excuse me, is this the ticket holder's line? It is good, thanks. You get behind him, now you're committed because of this man. Now this man is an idiot. He knows nothing. He knows nothing. He just got there a half a minute ahead of you. That's all his credentials are. He's an idiot minus 30 seconds. That's what he is.
Back with Paul Reiser, a lot of people assume that anybody who becomes a comic in their adult life must have been the class clown as a kid.
Is that the question?
I think it is.
See,
pretty
question
much. Pick it up from there.
I see. I was funny, but I always had this theory that if you were too funny, you get thrown out of the room, and then you have no audience to play. So you have to be, like, funny enough to get the laughs, but, like, within reason, you know, if you can get the teacher to like it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember it's sort of like playing the back room theory. And when I was in high school, I had this friend, my friend Billy, and we used to have biology, 7th period, and we had a friend who had the same teacher earlier in the day. So we'd find out what she was covering, and we would literally plan jokes. We would say, okay, we're covering, okay, the blood system. We'd get blood clot jokes, and it's like, and we were just waiting. We're up to the reproductive system. This is great. Bang, bang, we got you. And there was one day.
A lot of good material about those white corpuscles.
Well, you just could throw out, you know, you could plan your ad libs and be that much cleverer. And I remember we had, it was anatomy or something, and she was gonna roll in a skeleton. And so I said, oh, it'll be very funny when the skeleton comes in. I'll go, ladies and gentlemen, red skeleton, and it'll be very funny. And so the last minute, I suddenly decided, well, what will be even more abstract than that? And I said, ladies and gentlemen, red buttons. Which made no sense unless you knew that I was going to say red skeleton. So Billy is in hysterics, which is the guy I was going for, and the rest of the class is going, red buttons, what does that mean? And I was thinking, this is why I'll never be big in this business, because I play to the back of the room, to the one guy who will do me no good whatsoever. But if one very hip guy goes, now that's funny.
What was your high school project?
My high school project?
Yeah, when you were at, did you go to Peter Stuyvesant?
Stuyvesant High School, yeah. We had this thing. I don't even know if they still have it. And if they don't, you should. There was a thing that they called mini courses or mini classes, and for like 3 days, right before Easter break, we would have 3 days where kids could teach classes that they liked. And it was really organized. You would sign up, and it would be in like kids' hobbies, you know, like whatever it was. And they had, I don't know, all kinds of classes. And my friend Billy and I, we taught a comedy class, which was just an excuse for us to take all the comedy records that we loved and all these George Carlin and Mel Brooks records and just play them and analyze them. And basically it was like, you know, 15 guys like us going, hey, listen to this. Oh, that's funny, huh? You know, it's basically, it was in the name of education. We go, 7 words you can't say on TV. That's funny, huh? But I realized, and I started realizing at that point that I really loved comedy. I mean, I didn't really want to make something academic of it, but I just loved listening to this and breaking it down, and it was great fun.
Did your mother and father want you to be a comic?
I was almost named Shecky as a baby. No, not at all. Not at all. My father wanted me to go into his business. My father had a very successful health food business, health food wholesaling. And my mom, I don't know. My mom was a classic, whatever makes you happy, but not these 12 things. Anything but these 12. And I have some brochures on these you might be interested, but I don't know. I think my mom would have been happy if I was like a concert pianist or something.
So didn't you actually go into this health food business for a little while?
I did. I was there. Well, like kind of all my life, and I used to work summers, and in college I was working summers, and for a year after college I would work. I kind of did both. I kind of worked in the daytime, sort of in the office, and I would kind of go in nighttime doing comedy, and I was bad at both. And I always had an excuse. I would go into to the office and be bad. I go, I was up all night in these clubs. I'm just so out of it. And then I go into the clubs and I go, you're not funny. I go, I was on the phones all day in the office. My nightmare was that the two people would get together, the office people and the club people. I go, he's not good anywhere? Wow. Really? So he's just screwing up left and right.
Story.
Yeah.
I can't picture you as a Catskills comic, though. But I'm told that you did perform in the Catskills.
Well, it's not a Catskill comic, but that was the first, one of the first kind of big gigs when you're just starting out, like in the first year. They had a showcase up at the Raleigh Hotel, and it was a great gig because it would be like the five or six newcomers, who were really newcomers, and the audience would be all the people from the other hotels and all the headliners and Jackie Mason and Freddie Rowan, all these guys would come and watch, and they were really supportive and terrific, and you always did well. I mean, like, you always got a standing ovation. If you like were terrible, you'd get like a great applause, and they wouldn't stand. But it was always great fun, and it was a kick for me, you know, hear all these guys that you go up watching and seeing, and they come over, and you know, and you go out, you know, to the deli afterwards, and I'm thinking, this is great, this is show business. And actually, the night that I did that was my last night in comedy. There was like the year after college, my father said, well, you know, go take a year and do your comedy thing, and then you get back to work. And that was like just at the time that year was up, and that was on a Sunday night. And the next Monday, I was starting my job, and at that time, I thought I was going to get out of comedy and not do it. I remember, like, the same suit that I was on stage with. I spent the night, you know, up in the Catskills and came home the next day, and I mean, went straight to the office in the suit, and my friends go, how'd it go? It went great. You know, I didn't want it to go good. I kind of wanted it to really be terrible, so I go, let me get out of it. But I just, somewhere in me, knew that I must have liked it, you know, and about 6 months later, I said, you know what, I think I'm going to give up on this business thing and going to do what I want to do.
The first time you were a headliner,
yeah,
were you kind of caught between the two worlds? You're saying to yourself, you're on stage, they're paying you a decent amount of money to do this. Do I really belong here?
Well, I remember the first time I ever went on the road, and these are, I feel like I'm an old guy. In the early days, this is going back 77, 78, Bob. This is before cable. This is before you were in college, wherever you were, or something. And there were a lot of road gigs. The 3 or 4 guys you'd go out, and it'd be great because these are the guys that you hang out with at the clubs, and you go on the road. And there was this club in Florida, and you'd go and you'd get a couple of $100 for the week, and they had a house with a pool, and you'd sit there and you'd drink beers, and you'd be swimming in the pool with your friends, and you'd meet girls, and you'd lie out there, and then it, like, you know, from 9 to 9:30, you'd tell jokes, which you would, like, pay them to let you do, and I was thinking, I'm getting paid for this. I always had this image of I'd be just about to relax, lying on a raft in the pool, you know, with a beer, and I'd have, you know, just about to say, God, what a great life, and I'd have this mirage of my father walking by, just going, look what time it is, you know, and then fleeing a pool and grabbing a pen or something.
When we got you, weren't you like this little girl? And they said, do you like this little girl? And we said, oh, yeah, we love this little girl. But now, where did it say that you could grow? I mean, suddenly you're turning 14, and there's parties and boys, and this Shelby person I got a shooting pain, and I got a sneaking suspicion that next year, this time, you're going to want to be 15. Huh? Well, I got to tell you, Nick, I'm your father, and I'm a lot wiser than you, and I've been giving this some thought. And I've decided that from now on, you're 10.
Back with Paul Reiser, who with Greg Evigan is the star of My Two Dads, 8:30 Eastern Time each Sunday night now on NBC. Could you get that premise? You think you could have snuck that premise by even 8 or 10 years ago?
You know what's so funny? When I read the script to the show, to the pilot, it was terrific. It was a very clever, really nice script. And I thought it was a really novel approach. Two guys who were in love with the same woman, which that's happened many times in life, and ironically, there was a child produced. Okay, that could happen. And it was just an interesting twist to bring characters together. And that's all the show was supposed to do. It's like, here's a whole bunch of characters, and now we'll watch them live for 4 or 5 years.
The woman passes away, and the teenage girl, 13, 14 years old, we're unsure which one is the father.
Right. And because of the breakup of this relationship, me and Greg haven't seen each other for 12 years, and we've sort of gone different ways, and now brought back together, and our friendship rekindled. And there was nothing naughty about it at all. And I think in the flurry of looking for an angle, when the show came out, a lot of the press jumped on it, and they go, well, they're trying to be so naughty, and, you know, and premarital sex. And I'm going, come on, you know, it just wasn't the case. And if anything, the premise was really downplayed. And I think pretty soon, a couple of episodes in, they realized that we weren't trying to be racy, and it was just an interesting way to get these characters together.
Interesting thing about the show, and you got to love this with your background as a comedian and as a kid who grew up listening to comedy records and waiting to see the stand-up guys on Ed Sullivan. Jan Murray as your uncle.
Yeah, that was great. Jan Murray played my uncle who
one of these old guys who you have to love. He goes, you have to love me, right? You love me, right?
When you look across at Jan Murray, you
Yeah.
have to think for a second that it might be Treasure Hunt, right? It might be on Treasure Hunt.
You know what's so funny? I mean, he's great. Jan's been doing comedy since the beginning of time. And we're working together, and I remember at the end, one day we're working, and he goes, listen, I got to get out of here at 7. There's a fryer roast for Milton again. And,
Again?
You know, because apparently like every other day, Milton has another thing. And he's looking at his watch, and he's going on. I said, I got to get home. I got to shower. I got to throw my suit. I want to throw some material together. I'm going to go on after everybody. Danny Thomas is going to... I'm thinking, this is great. This never ends.
Right.
You know what I mean? This sounds exactly like me and my friends going, I got to shower, and then Seinfeld's going to go on, so I'm going to go on after. You know what I mean? It's just like, here he is, no matter how late you do it.
All those Friars Club guys not only have to shower, they have to take a steam. Every one of those guys takes a steam about 5, 6 times a day.
It apparently makes you funny. It loosens up all the old jokes, and it comes right out.
Amazing, isn't it? The Paul Reiser story in half an hour.
I try and live my life neat and concise for that very purpose.
You did it.
God bless me.
We're out of here. See you later.
Join Bob Monday night when his guest will be columnist Art Buchwald.
Wise guy.